We have a bit more insight into what the Senate Intelligence Committee is doing with the dossier than what Mueller's team is doing. We heard from Senator Burr and Senator Warner last week that they are in the process of trying to rebuild or reconstruct the dossier to determine its veracity in certain places. And we know, for example, Alex, that there are some elements of the dossier that have turned out to be true. There's a report included in the dossier dated June of 2016 that alleges a multi-pronged Russian effort to denigrate Hillary Clinton and to advantage Donald Trump. And of course, we saw that come to fruition. We saw the meetings with Paul Manafort that were predicted in the document. We saw the cyber campaign that was described in the document. And the document, this June 2016 report, was published before even the United States government had come to the firm conclusion that Russia would undertake such a multi-pronged effort to elect President Donald Trump. So there are some elements of the dossier that have proven not to be true, but there are some core central elements, Alex, that have seemed to be quite prescient.
Okay, and in the discussions there, the fact that Christopher Steele declines to discuss who underwrote his work, does that raise a red flag for you?
Well, it doesn't, for a couple reasons, Alex. I think you have to remember that Christopher Steele is a longtime operative of the British Secret Intelligence Service, and there is nothing more prized to an intelligence officer than his or her sources, those people that are supporting his or her work. So I think it will be very unlikely that Christopher Steele would detail, especially for the congressional committees, his sources or those who were behind his work. But we do know some elements of who was behind this. We know that at first, during the Republican primary, that other Republican contenders actually were the genesis of this document. And then once now President Trump became the Republican nominee, we understand that then Democratic donors became a key funder of this report. I think the funding is much less important than who the subsources of Christopher Steele actually are. If these subsources, the individuals on whom Steele relied to put together this collection of dossiers, are credible, if they have the access that is described in this report, then I think there is a good chance that much of what we read in the dossier is accurate.
But how confident are you, Ned, that Congress would be able to extract the kind of information they want from Christopher Steele? Because I'm going to look at the tweet that you sent out, which reads, "Spies the world over don't trust the U.S. Congress because of leaks. Makes perfect sense Steele would meet with Mueller while shunning Congress."
Well, that's the key point. I'm not sure that Congress will get very far with Christopher Steele. He may provide some more atmospherics. He may provide some more details. We learned late last week, actually, that Christopher Steele is in talks with congressional leaders in the Senate Intelligence Committee to actually meet with them, perhaps in London. But I do think that Bob Mueller's team will have more success with Christopher Steele. Bob Mueller, the former longtime director of the FBI, Christopher Steele, a longtime espionage operative, they speak the same language in some ways. They both understand the importance of protecting sources and methods. They both understand that Congress sometimes has a tendency to leak like a sieve. So I do think that Mueller will have an easier time getting some of these details from Christopher Steele, and I actually think that's more important. We have to remember that it's Mueller's team, not Congress, that will be responsible for any criminal charges that stem from this law enforcement investigation. What Congress will put together, we hope, is a report documenting the entirety of what went on in this election, the Russian effort, and any collusion on the part of the Trump team, whereas what Mueller is working on it could be potential indictments, and it could, in fact, land some people in jail.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.